Hey y'all, welcome back to For the Fans Entertainment, where tonight we are going to talk about the crazy season finale of Survivor 41, where we saw a winner crowned sole survivor for the first time in way too long. Tonight we kind of have mashed our two Survivor shows together, so we're joined by Frank, Stan, Denny, and Kevin, and we're just going to share all of our thoughts on the season as a whole. Erica as a winner, the twists, the people that got screwed, the missteps, and everything else along the way. So if you're joining live, make sure you drop us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on everything that happened this season on Survivor. And hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button so you get a notification every time we go live. So Frank, Stan, Denny, Kevin, how are y'all?
I won.
What did you win?
Congratulations, Kevin.
I came on this show as a guest long ago, and I had the very first pick, and I took Miss Erica with the first overall pick, and your boy was right.
Wow,
So it
I was
sounds to me
right.
like it was the luck of the draw. You got the first pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even fault us for not picking the winner.
I saw we talked about her, and I was like, you know what? She has winner written all over her. And my second overall pick was the guy that came in second place
I don't
in the show.
Wow.
I think I'm pretty good at this thing. We'll see if I can keep it rolling. I love this draft and stuff. Let's go.
You should do it.
Congrats
for
to
a
Erica.
game.
So Kevin, not only
congrats
did
to
you
you.
win our For the Fans draft, you also won mine and Trisha's big money draft. So like you took it all home this week.
See, and as fun as the money draft is, right? Beating you and Frank and Trisha as a guest just meant so much more, especially watching Ricardo come in fifth.
Well, I mean,
Enough
put
for
fifth
him.
on it, but I loved watching him be a legend, so.
Frank, what were your thoughts on the episode and Ricardo's demise?
Watching Ricard, like, just barely not win that puzzle was crushing, and then, like, I started to get a little excited, like a little hope the way they were editing it. Xander was like, on the fence, like, and I'm like, just play it. And he didn't, and then I cussed and I cried and I moved on. I did drink a little more after that
The full
happened.
gamut of emotions.
It was
So-
a full
It was
thing.
devastating for me too. I didn't want to see him go out, and then Frank posted in our group chat, "No."
Yeah, that's how I knew. But see, so Denny, you were like a normal Ricard fan. Frank was like a Ricard super fan.
Super fan.
Yeah, well,
Like-
it's like I see so much of
He
me
is.
and him,
So
like,
I've known Frank for how long now? Like maybe just over a year and a half, and I've met him a couple of times in real life. When I watched Ponderosa Ricard, I was like, "Oh my god, that's Frank!" Like how he puts himself to the Mount Rushmore of Survivor Legends, like takes down, like I can't remember, Jeremy Collins and puts his own name, and I'm like, boy, like you played good, but you got like that.
I don't know if it was that good,
So,
right? I don't know if
I
it
don't
was
know
that.
what hit you, and you didn't even win. Like Jeremy Collins won. Like,
But you don't have to be a winner to be a legend.
Yeah, you don't have to be the winner to be a legend, but
Sari Fields is the
correct.
best player to ever play the game.
Correct, absolutely.
Well,
but for him to
second
take out, like, put him on top. But yeah, I don't. Whatever. I digress. Ricard's a great player, but that Ponderosa.
I think he looked
reminds
good next
me-
to Sari on Mount Rushmore.
I
That's
think-
just my personal opinion. I think it's the
just-
salt and the pepper.
Look, if you were to say let's pit a Real Foot Hall of Fame or Mount Rushmore, Frank would put himself like.
Oh
there.
yeah, because
Well, yeah.
I'm
Got
so
fourth
beautiful,
booth,
and
he puts
the
himself
pants
in
the
Mount
pants have to go
Rushmore.
on
You
Mount
can't not
Rushmore.
put Frank
I would say
in
put the
Mount
pants,
Rush,
maybe
not
not
a-
me.
Like Mount Rushmore can't be made without Frank in there, right? And you didn't even make jury, but you put.
I don't know
yourself-
You didn't even make jury. I didn't know you didn't even make jury.
I
Dang.
hope the Real Foot
So
fans
maybe
watch
the-
this
maybe
because
the problem
it's
here-
true. Every Real Footer that watches this back, there won't be a Mount Rushmore without Frank's face on it, and y'all know it's
According to Frank.
Maybe the problem here isn't that Frank thinks he's Ricard. Maybe the problem
they are so similar, and
that
Frank sees it.
is really JD.
No.
I can see a lot of JD in Frank. I can see that after watching
I
the
have
game.
a shit ton more life experience than JD.
Yeah, I agree. Like Frank is more like,
But he's
Have
out there,
Frank.
wide-eyed, ready to go,
No,
and then Clint
it's
early.
like
Anybody that wants to put their medal against mine looks
Yeah.
good.
I
Like,
couldn't resist. That was funny. Okay, so let's talk specifically about the advantage that Erica earns right at the beginning of the episode. Like when Jeff was talking, this is an historic advantage. I was like, okay, I thought it was definitely going to be something with the jury. Not something that was going to have such a huge impact in that final, really the final
5
immunity challenge that matters for anything. Because the other one, worst case scenario, you're going to compete
go
for
to
fire.
fire.
slight advantage.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't believe they said slight. That was a heavy advantage in
I
that.
think it was a heavy.
I don't know. I don't know if it was. I mean, she got the advantage. It allowed her to get 2 rungs done, or 4 rungs done, and
On
then
each ladder.
on each ladder. And she still basically got caught up to by
Well-
Deshaun and Ricard. So
So think about it. I mean,
Because they're that good.
they're right.
right, that's what I'm saying. So I don't feel like the advantage, because she still had to start at the beginning, still had to run.
So you don't
It
think
seemed like
you think if she maybe only got like the second ladder halfway done and didn't get
I
the
don't think
ropes
she-
in the beginning, do you think she still
Yeah, I
would
don't
beat
think
Ricard
she
in
wins.
the puzzle?
I don't think she wins
the
because
puzzle was so straightforward that because it's just a Survivor logo.
Yeah,
above
it's
you
the logo.
looking at,
I felt like the rope part was like just a very important part of the challenge that
well, I felt like
with getting 4 of those rungs was huge.
it didn't seem to slow anyone down.
I think
It
it would
didn't
have
seem
slowed
as-
her down.
I think ultimately the puzzle was the great equalizer. I mean, she definitely
Yeah.
had an advantage. But in the big scheme of how Survivor 41 plays out, I don't think if Erica doesn't win that immunity challenge, she's not the one that's eliminated there. Either
Correct.
Ricard wins or Deshaun wins and the other one goes.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
I think
you know what I mean? Like, Erica still wouldn't have left. It's really hard to say. Like,
But she
okay,
might not have won.
well, it's really hard to say, okay, well, then if Ricard had won, then, would he
Right.
have won Final Four or would he have been
correct,
able to
or
make
you
fire?
fire.
I mean, it's kind of impossible to say because, I mean, our girl Heather could burn a damn fire.
Mhm. You
Like, I
know,
was like-
We'll get to that. We'll get to
would
that.
like
I
to
was
check on her string, okay? So there's no way to say for sure if Ricard doesn't get eliminated at 5 that he's for sure sitting in the final tribal council. No matter what, Erica wasn't going home there. So I
Right.
feel like yes, it was
Sure.
an advantage, but
I
I don't
think-
think it affected her game necessarily too
I
much.
think the only chance I think that Erica would have gone home and this could have turned the game, because I think she was well insulated in the final 6 and the final 5 vote, was if Xander gave immunity up and took her out in fire, or if Xander took Deshaun and put Erica and Heather against fire at each other. Well, Heather struck a flame, Erica's gone to final 4, and now who wins, right? So like,
but
it's
I agree
all-
with you. But that's far in advance. I think we're talking here at 5. And at
Right.
5,
There's no way
she
she
was
goes
safe.
home.
she's
She's
safe at
safe.
5 regardless.
Heather
Yeah.
was too. I think in 5 it was definitely who lost the challenge, Ricard or Deshaun. And
Yeah.
if they lost, and if neither of them win, it's Ricard, because no one.
Well, even better, it was Ricard unless he wins, then it's
Correct.
Deshaun.
and then
If Ricard does, if anyone does not Ricard
Correct.
wins.
correct, and no one was gonna play the idol. Like I do agree that there was there seemed like a little bit of pandering on Xander's side, like unprompted, like Ricard, I can play idol on you. That's just like waving a carrot, no matter how much.
Yeah, okay, so
Xander move
I wanna
was
talk about that.
done.
I want to talk about that because we get through the challenge and Erica wins, right?
Mhm.
We then get back to camp and Ricard knows that it's either him or Deshaun, but he had said in the episode that he kind of figured it was going to be him, so he was really trying to push the Deshaun Erica hate. Which, by the way, we talked about last week on the Fans Have Spoken. That was a terrible move by Deshaun to try to blow up blow up her game. That was just so bad. It didn't work. And as you saw, it continued to be a detriment to him as it went on.
I mean, really,
But
I think even his perception on the jury is tainted a little bit by it too. With
right.
Shan like bringing up him throwing tantrums, that's
Correct.
kind of what that also references. Like, yes,
Correct.
their direct interactions, but then kind of that moment too. And so I think it had a huge impact on his overall game.
I think
And it really affected it.
Yeah.
I think Deshaun had a great whole well-rounded edit for the final perception that he got in the jury. Because I think because he was very, if you watch the Ponderosa moment, Shan is very vengeful. So she didn't like how Deshaun took her out, and Ricardo's an Erica advocate. So I think the jury had decided that if Deshaun somehow wins and makes it to the final three, he's not getting a lot of votes or at anything at all, with the exception of potentially Danny, because of how erroneous his move, not erroneous because they worked to get him safe, but how lackadaisical or insensitive Deshaun's moves sometimes
Yeah.
were. And I think that rubbed a lot of people off the wrong way. Like the pouting when Shan was like, just let Shan dictate the moves and let Shan take the fall because they ain't dumb enough. Why do you have to cause a fuss? But that just didn't something that pissed Shan off, right? The only person Deshaun didn't piss off was Danny.
I feel like we have a lot to talk about Deshaun, but I have a lot to say about Deshaun as well because
right.
I was a big fan.
I was a big fan too.
I still am. I'm a big fan still, and I feel like he's just got some stuff to learn, and that's cool. But in this situation, Ricardo's really trying to push to keep himself safe, which is great. That's great strategy. That's a great game move. He was very obviously the biggest threat. Yeah, very obviously the biggest threat. So I thought that was really intuitive for him to go in front of Xander and say to Deshaun, like, you're voting for me, I'm voting for you. That's the only thing that makes sense. And then being like, yeah. And then trying to rally the troops after that reward with Erica and Heather to really just try to rally them around working with him to keep him and try to push the negative narrative about Deshaun. I thought that was smart. I did not like, though, with Xander sitting right there, why would you then even, like you were saying, even think about the crumb of using the idol when you know that your biggest thing is to take out Ricardo? You said that yourself in the confessional, in front of people, even in the episode tonight after he lost. So why would you even bring that up as an option for you to do? All it does is make you look poor, Xander.
See, I think when that was happening, what I was wishing that it would maybe go like a step farther, and Ricard would be like, yeah, use the idol on me. Me and you will face each other in fire. The winner is going to win this all. Like, me or you are going to win this. We'll do fire together. And then that'll also, you could even openly talk about that with Erica and Heather, because then they're like, okay, that means that we're going to the final three.
I mean,
and then you can throw,
in our
Deshaun out right there.
I got old boy X there, and I told you, like, this is what he has to do to win. And Robbie even texted me and said, like, hey, when Xander talked about playing the idol for Ricard, I had to pause the TV because I was like, he said, he was like, holy shit, Kylie's right. And Xander came this close to making me like the smartest person in the world. But what I like from Ricard in the vote, leading up to his vote out, I think his tribal council performance is terrible, but I feel like he has these two moments. He has one with Erica where he's sitting there and Erica is, kind of like bitching about Deshaun and the move that he had made at tribal council and how compassionate he is. And I think that's a side that we didn't see of Ricard in the edit any. And then we get his, being vulnerable with with Xander about, his son fixing to be born any day. And I think those two moments, if we could have had a little bit more of that, maybe that brings his threat level down a little bit, because I think whenever you aren't emotional and you're good at challenges and you've made moves, you're almost untouchable. And maybe if he would have, maybe if he would have humbled himself a little bit, that's not exactly the right word I want to use, but maybe just making himself more vulnerable, maybe it even could have taken his target down some.
I don't
So
think
I
there
like
was
I
those
don't
two
think so. I think he was
conversations.
pretty vulnerable. You found out later that like Tiffany and him had a really close relationship. I think he was a lot closer with people than the edit led on. I think
Well,
he
I don't
had
think that he
those.
wasn't close, but there's still a difference in being close to people and being vulnerable with people. And that might
Ricardo
be
was dead in the
enough.
water.
That might be enough to keep you.
Ricardo was dead in the water. There was nothing he could do without winning that
yeah,
challenge.
I
And
think that
and I've played a bunch of orgs. Where Ricardo goes is usually where I go in these games, and it's because of the same reason, right? They literally said if you get to the end, you're gonna win. You have an extremely compelling case, and he did. If Ricard made it to the end, Ricard wins this game. We talked about it.
obviously.
Who's that?
That's me, and I don't know where it's coming from. It does that all the time. I don't.
We-
No,
Every
but
once
like,
in a while, we get that beep,
Kevin,
and it's like,
Okay, so Frank's
but
house is on
that's
fire.
absolutely right. Like, there's a reason why you have to, and I think Survivor is a game of jury management in a sense, but at the same time, more importantly, it's a game of really perception. I think they were talking about it in Tribal Council. If you were perceived to be the biggest threat to the final five, what's the point of even playing that strong of a game? You're going home, right?
Yeah.
Like I think the key is exactly what happened yesterday. That person that ended up winning made people that are bigger targets above her, in front of her, that she slid to the end and basically commanded the moves at the end game. But like Ricard, although as strong, I'm not saying he's not a strong player, because Ricard is such
He's
a
great.
strong player.
He's a great player.
And I think
He's a
the
great player.
pre-merge had a lot to do more of Ricard than Shan, but Shan got the and she's a better talker.
Nah,
But I
the
think
pre-merge was them together.
right. But I think but the problem about Ricardo is he's so salient. He participated in 8 blindsides this season that there was no other chance for him to defect that vote. No, like nobody.
I agree. I think on this season, the only person that would have beaten Ricard is Shan. It would have been Shan and then Ricard as the two most likely to win the game.
You know what
against
Ricard's
anybody.
mistake was? You know what's Ricard's mistake?
Being
was?
too good.
No,
being too good.
He cut Shan. If I was better at Shan than Fire, I go to the
but
final four
Shan
and
could.
pull Shan.
he knew he was number 5.
Oh
He
yeah,
knew.
Yeah, he was, and that's the hard part is that we mentioned we invoked the Queen's name, Sari Fields, right? She will never win the game because she's not great at challenges, and because she's not great at challenges, she'll never win the challenge that matters most, which is whatever is the last one before you go to the final. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, we have Fire, so that means 5 is the last one, and that's where the best players get clipped. That's where the Sari Fields gets clipped, and the Ricard's part of that group now, because that is the last time. And Keith now, but that's the last time you can take somebody out though before it's too late. You know what I'm saying? And that's where Ricard was. He got taken out. He had to win that final 5 immunity.
You need to win that final 5 if you're playing that bold of a game. But yeah, had he made the final 3, yeah, he would have swept everybody.
Yeah,
I think. But that's the beauty of the game, right? Like I actually, the last thing I watched,
I want to know his fire skills. Really, I really want to know his fire skills, and if he would have made it to there.
Ricard's Ponderosa.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my god, it's fun! It's I think one of my favorite Ponderosas this season.
Yeah.
Denny, if it doesn't give you Frank vibes, I don't think anything will.
But Denny, you're a big. Denny, you're a big Ricard person. What were your thoughts on him?
I loved the guy, and I wanted to see Xander play as idol for him. Like, the fan in me wanted that. For Xander also. Did I think that Xander could beat Ricard in the end? Maybe. I think Xander had a strong game in the beginning, but he did have, people trusted him, and he had the idol. So I don't know if he didn't have that idol, would he have lasted this long? I'm not sure. But Ricard going out was just a shame. You never want to see the best player in the game get booted right before final tribal council. I mean,
Right.
as a fan of the show, just seeing his gameplay, his strategy, like I was heartbroken for him. But
what
the
did you think?
humbleness,
What
I
did
do
you
think,
think
is a
about?
factor because you heard him say more than once that he was going to win. He was the best player in the game. It's like, okay, yes, you were the best player in the game, but you don't need to
Yep. So let's talk
throw
about
it out there like
He
that.
literally, I think someone said in our chat last night, he had his final tribal council speech at the final five. So what do you think where do you think his biggest misstep was?
I think Ricard's biggest misstep, one thing, he just had to put one person, one bigger threat right in front of him. Like, if he did, that person would suddenly be the number one target. It ain't gonna be Ricard. Always put yourself number two on the chopping block, because if you're number one on the chopping block and you don't have immunity to save yourself, it you're gone. I think this is his biggest mistake of the game. What was the reason to get rid of Shan at that point? Shan was the one who told you it was going to be you, Ricard. Here's my argument. Why don't you bring Shan to the final five and you beat Shan in immunity, or let Erica win immunity? Who goes home at five?
Well, I mean,
Who goes home at five?
out three places back. I mean,
Correct.
there's
So
so
her
much.
biggest mistake.
Well, no,
his
but I mean,
biggest
there's so
mistake
much
is-
game that you'd have to go through to even get to that point. So I
Okay,
mean, I
but
feel like
in
that's,
the event,
that's being like, hey, they shouldn't have voted out Gene.
Yeah.
Like, it's too
absolutely.
far back.
I don't think he did anything wrong. I think
I
his
think-
timing was on point. I think he just didn't win one
So
challenge.
why was the,
When
what was
you
the
are
reason?
a player, when you have his play style, you have to win out towards the end
But
of the
Frank-
game, and he just fell short of it.
Frank,
I mean,
isn't-
I don't think he did anything wrong. The writing was on the wall at that tribal council.
Correct. So why don't you make the writing on the wall not be there in the first place by putting
Well,
a
'cause
bigger
Stan-
target right in front of you?
I think
So
if
Stan-
he didn't vote out Shan when he did, he wouldn't have made it as far as he made it.
But
He wouldn't have.
if there was a coup d'etat in one of, I can't remember the exact tribal council, but like one of the the camp out got voted out, but Shan was the one not blindsided.
But that's the
Like,
thing,
if
so
Deshaun
Stan-
went instead of Shan.
But here's the thing, Stan, is that like we talked about this on the how they would win podcast episode. If he doesn't take out Shan at 6, then Erica goes there. It's not going to be Deshaun. It's not going to be
Correct.
Danny. It's not going to be Liana. So it's going to be Erica.
Erica
And
goes
then
home there.
So Erica goes home there. Liana doesn't go. Danny doesn't go. Deshaun doesn't go. You still have Shan there. Shan's mentality was that Ricard would always be number 5.
Yeah.
He was going at 5 regardless. It was going to be the final was going to be the camp out. It was going to be Shan, Danny, Liana, and Deshaun. That was the plan. That was the master plan, just like they did in the cookout, right? So unfortunately, there was never going to be a time for him to be able to keep Shan and still keep her, because at that point, you have those 5. He's still the biggest target, even though Shan is the best chance to win, because for the 4 of them, we're together. Sorry, Ricard.
And I think at that final 5 tribal, I think the reason he gave his final speech was because he knew that was his last opportunity to have that moment. And I mean, if your only shot is to get your little boy wonder crush on you to play the idol, why not try to drum up emotions with having that thing about home and everything else? So
Yeah, I think that not that he used that moment, but I think that was a great move to be vulnerable with Xander, because Xander responds to that. And I think that, God, Xander, I think he was so close to playing that idol for him. And not only did Ricard need it, but Xander needed it too. So
Xander was never playing that idol on Ricard.
signing the book for Ricard, great game. We're all a big fan here. So hey, Ricard, if you want to talk to us,
yes.
hit us
Call
up.
us.
All right, so moving on to the Final Four. We go into this Final Four immunity challenge. We've seen it many times before. Like, I just can't help but always just, have like PTSD for Ben in this moment of like having the upside down letter. And This wasn't even close, though. Xander completely blows it out of the water. He's safe. Let's talk about Xander's decision.
Well, one thing I want to talk about in the challenge is they made it impossible to hack this one, because the normal hack for this one is instead of stacking them straight up like they did this time, they had to because there were a slot for it. You turn it kind of diagonal to where there's more stability this way as to like this. So they made that not even possible, which I thought was really cool. And standing on that little rocking horse, that looked nerve-wracking, so I was really impressed. Normally we see that fall until they get the learning curve. So for Xander to just like, I guess he has it in his backyard maybe.
Xander's like
I
Xander.
knew he had it.
So Xander was before he got on Survivor, after he put in the tape, he was chopping coconuts with his shirt off and a buff on over the whole summer in Chicago before he got the call. Mr. Tarzan just like would do that challenge, because I've like in an LRG, like I've played in a very similar challenge. That thing is very hard to stabilize. Now, if you do that plus the balance, that's even more difficult. Like, damn, like he is like Tarzan.
The only thing I would have done different if I was Xander is when he was right there and Jeff's like a half an inch, I would have just curled my toes in. I would have I wouldn't have moved my foot. I'd just been like, curl my toes.
I love Frank, because Frank said the only thing I would have done.
Like close up, you're like, Frank, and then it drops.
I just see Frank's little toes being like,
yeah, I just think it'd have been hilarious. At the same time, that would have been the worst challenge of my life, because I have these hobbit feet, so the idea of the camera like zoomed in on my feet after being out there, bad.
I just love the fact that Frank said the only thing that I would have done different than the guy that won the thing was to do something different, even though he used it to win the game, to win the challenge. I love that he said what he did was great because it won, but I would have done something different, even though he still won.
All right, so to Xander's decision. Denny, you're on the beach. You just won the Final Four immunity. You're staring at Erica, Deshawn, and Heather. Who are you putting into fire?
Obviously, Deshawn and Erica.
Myself and Erica.
Or I would get Heather, who's good at fire, to knock out one of them.
No. When he saw how bad she was, he should have volunteered. Like, I volunteered.
Am I Xander?
Frank,
am I Xander?
Spot on.
Yeah, you're Xander.
If I'm Xander, I would do the same thing that he did. And the reason if I'm Xander is because Xander's social awareness was so off that he thought that the rest of the jury was not feeling Erica, and they very obviously were. But if I'm Xander, I miss that. So I still do the same thing because he did not notice that they were feeling her. And so he would have not thought it was
Xander's position.
If I'm Kevin as Xander, if I'm Kevin not Xander, then I'm probably going to watch Erica not make fire. I'm then going to go against her in fire.
But did he really think that Heather had a better chance at winning the game
right
than Erica? Like, it makes no sense.
You have to look at it and be like, okay, Deshawn, he's got a chance. Erica, she has a chance. Heather, she's got no fucking chance.
No.
Get rid of
negative.
One of them.
No, because Heather has such a Heather has such
in there and take care of it yourself.
Two tribal councils ago, Deshawn talked about how Heather and Erica play the exact same game. And I think if I'm Xander, that no one respects either one of their games, but at least Heather has the story of the mom situation, the Dawn type story. So I would not want Heather there because she can beat me with the mom story if I'm Xander. And I think that neither one of their games means shit because they think they're playing the exact same. You're wrong. Don't get me wrong. He is wrong. But if I'm Xander, I think that the mom card can beat me over Erica. Erica has nothing. She has no story as far as I know if I'm Xander, because I'm not very close to her and I don't know what she's doing. So as far as I'm concerned, she hasn't done anything. She only has Heather.
I don't think the mom card is enough when you're a player like Heather, though.
Right.
Right.
I'll go
I mean,
to
I
the
don't
end
think I
against
think
Dawn
Heather
every
wasn't
time.
gonna win regardless. I think from the word association from the jury, like it was so haphazard and Heather. So I think their perception of the jury, I mean, is not
His perception was
the
wrong.
most
His
favorable for
perception was
Heather.
off.
Yeah.
Huh?
His perception was off.
Absolutely,
Completely.
but I think I completely agree that Xander's perception was off.
Yeah.
And
He
that's
was
the
looking at the
mistake.
jury to see how they react to certain things
Correct.
said when he should have just been focused on his own personal resume.
Correct.
What
I think
can I do?
Xander-
Now,
I think-
what are they thinking?
Yeah, I think Xander is, he's 20. I think when I was 20, I wouldn't, I could have played Survivor. Don't get me wrong. I'll know how to play the game, but I don't know what people's perceptions are. I'm not in with the relationships. Like that's why they said that Xander wasn't going to win. He was kind of like a goat because no one really connected with Xander. Ricardo had that bromance, but he wasn't in the end. He didn't have agency in the game. I think
Correct.
he didn't
Never.
have agency in the game because of the lack of awareness of everything, where everything lies. Like he wasn't, and then because he got that power in the final four, and with Xander's fire skills, I should have given up. I'd get immunity to save myself. I'd give it to Heather or whoever, save two, and knock out my biggest target one-on-one
Yes.
with Xander's fire skills, and that goes on my resume.
I
gave up immunity, Chris Underwood style.
The immunity giving up has been now. Everybody's done that.
Right,
it's
but
not
I
that
still
part.
did it.
It's
I
the
knocked out
fact
the biggest
I'm
player
with
in the
you.
game.
I'm with you in the part. Like I think the giving up the immunity part is old hat. Nobody cares about that part. But I think the fact that your biggest competitor is Erica, so you
Then
should,
take her
especially
out.
you just watched her not be able to make
Take
fire.
her out.
So, so you
Get
could
that
go
shotgun.
and
Boom.
yes, and
Let me
I'm with
make
you.
fire. Bye.
Yeah,
Erica.
because
Vote for
I
me
just
in
watched
jury.
you
Thank
not
very
be able to
much.
make fire, and I know that I have made the fire most of the time we're out here. That's the one skill I know I got.
know. I
So I'm
banked
gonna go
on
out there and do it.
Tarzan.
So Xander's problem is that Xander viewed himself like CBS viewed Xander.
Correct.
So, like we didn't get anything bad about Xander.
We
The
didn't
only
get
reason
anything.
even like going into the finale that you have any idea that Xander is not looked upon favorably is because of exit press. Like
Right.
if, especially Danny was like, yeah, we're just letting him skate by with his idol because nobody's threatened by Xander. So like he can just have a spot at the end.
Right.
It
He
doesn't
didn't have
matter.
agency.
Like
Xander probably had a different perception because
Yeah,
after
that's what I'm
every
saying.
every
Xander-
confessional, Jeff was
Xander
probably
got-
like, "Great confessional, Xander.
Yeah.
Great confessional."
And that's the
You'd be
thing is
poster
Jeff's over
boy
there in the
for
background,
CBS, like we love
Xander
that
was
Xander.
great
More of
to
that
sound
Xander. More of that. We love
I
that
think-
Xander.
I think Xander played a good game, but Xander completely lost sight of the end game.
Yeah.
And really after like the knowledge is power move, Xander's game was
Which wasn't
stagnant.
Xander's move, and we know now
So,
it's not Xander's move.
you
It was
know,
Tiffany and Evie's.
CBS loved him. Xander kind of loved himself. Like he just didn't see it. CBS apparently didn't see it either because until that final 5 tribal council, when he's making comments about, oh well, I looked at how the jury was reacting, and they're like, that's not a good read.
Yeah.
That's
I mean-
that's the first time they give us any indication in the show that Xander is not looked upon favorably by the jury.
Is that the case though? I mean, look at so he got a lot of screen time early, but once we get to about the Shan vote, Xander's on screen but not really saying anything consequential. Think about it.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I
I
don't
think-
think he's
and that's-
necessarily saying anything consequential, but we're not getting anything negative about him.
Right. No.
We get negatives about
We
Deshaun.
love-
We get negatives about Ricard. We get
Right.
negatives about
Right.
nothing about Eric.
Did we get negatives about Ricard?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can get some negatives.
I mean, in the community.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think we
Shan-
did.
The Shannon Ricard fight.
Like,
The
look,
Shannon
I'm
Ricard
freezing
fight.
up
They
like
both
Xander
got-
at Final Tribal Council. Like, give me a minute to think of some examples.
It,
Yeah, I
the,
think.
the
Go ahead.
go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, Xander, if it wasn't for the jury kind of helping him tell him like what he did do at finals, man, he was a wreck. He was a wreck. He had no idea what he had done. I think there was one question that he just completely froze on. And I was really let down because like earlier on when he talks, he is very smooth for a 20-year-old. very well spoken for someone of his age. When I was 20, I'd have been
Mhm.
canceled like that, but I was really impressed with him. So then when he got there and just to see him kind of fall apart, it was sad. But I
Well,
think
before
given
he
the
even
time,
gets
he'll be
there,
great.
though, he picks the people for the fire, right? Deshaun versus Heather, and I thought this was going to be a Sandra Becky situation. That's what I thought we were about to see right here, because we see Deshaun. Yeah, we saw Deshaun
I
not be able to make fire before, and Cook Islands is legitimately my favorite season.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
And
not mine.
watching Becky and Sandra not be able to make fire even with matches was just insane. And I thought we were going to get that, but little did we know, Heather, decently good at making fire.
Yeah.
Shocking. I was really surprised though as her fire started to die. I did not see that coming. I was confused. It defied the laws of physics to me. I didn't understand.
This
I
wasn't
went
meant
through
to
all these
be.
emotions. It was because her fire was, and like Kylie said, man, someone needs to check that rope because that fire was licking
Seriously.
that rope.
Yeah.
It
I thought there was a
hitting
metal
it.
wire in the middle of the.
I was like, look, this is thicker rope. They've put some flame retardant on here. I do not know, but
It was
Because
wet.
it's like licking.
It was a wet
It's
piece of
licking.
twine.
and I mean,
Bro,
I
it was
didn't
like
even-
licking
I
it,
wasn't
licking it.
really rooting against Deshaun, but I was
Deshaun, right.
rooting for Heather in that fire making. I was like,
Yeah.
burn, bitch. Burn.
Yeah. So I was at a live viewing party at a bar watching this final, and that moment of the fire making, it felt like the Super Bowl was happening. People were screaming because it was so close. It was a fun moment to kind of have that kind of sports moment in a bar, but it was actually Survivor. It was really, really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, my
Yeah,
heart
that
was
was
pounding.
wild.
My
Got like a bad crosswind. I don't know, but
I was on the flip side, just watching, and my heart was racing by myself. I'm like, oh my god, I feel like it's gonna explode, and my heart hasn't exploded. Oh my god, this is what's going on. And then, because who would have thought Heather was gonna make fire that fast, that well? And Deshaun said he couldn't make a fire 6 inches high, and and we underestimated how good Mama Heather is at making fire, because who counted her in?
Yeah.
But that's the thing,
I
though,
was
right?
dead.
Did we as the fan base might have underestimated her because she was extremely underedited. She didn't
Oh, yeah.
the calls for justice from former Survivor players for Heather's edit was very loud
Mhm.
online. In fact, I read today that Heather contacted CBS about her edit because she was like, "I was out there doing stuff, man. Why am I? Why are you not? I made it to Final Four."
to the death of me, I will take in if somebody is able to get casted, they were good enough to get on the cast, they should have a little bit more of an edit than what Heather got. I don't give a damn if you
Correct.
only want to use her for sound bites explaining the challenge. That's what the challenge has to do with Casey. You know what I mean? They bring Casey's ass back every year because she's good at the challenge. She's not good in confessionals. So they let her explain the challenges, and that's basically what she gets for confessionals. But you still get a little bit of Casey in every single episode, and I'm sorry, if somebody is good enough to get casted and they make it to the Final Four, we should know a little bit more about them and their game.
Right.
Especially if they made it deep in the game into the Final Four. We
Right.
should have been seeing what she was
However-
doing. And even I was gonna say, even in the final episode, right? We got a lot of Erica the last 2 hours, which is good. She wins the game. But Heather's there too. She should be talking about what's going on just like Erica.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think
Well, I mean, they
that's
have to do it with Erica because she's
No, of course. I
They
think-
haven't done it all.
No, of course. No,
what I
of
mean?
course. Yes. But Heather should have got some too.
They
I
screwed
know,
up on
but
both Erica and
guys, if you, I think the reason that Heather got fourth, but with no edit, whereas Erica got a decent underdog edit, a pretty strong edit at the end, was she pretty much got all the screen time because it's the same stories.
She got a strong edit after Ricardo was gone, which was part of the way through the last episode.
Whatever. Next.
She had a strong edit throughout this episode, even with Ricardo
Correct.
being
Even with
going.
Like, I
Ricardo.
gotta say his name
But,
one
like,
more time.
No. I think that's at the expense of Heather's edit because there was just so much going on. There was Deshaun's crazy stuff, Shan's crazy stuff. Ricardo, mind you, Survivor only has 1 hour, 43 minutes without commercials to show us what's going on. And if there's so much going on about Shan and Ricard and
that's the thing, though, Stan.
meltdown,
But Stan, how much Xander do I need to see if he was never going to get a vote?
Okay, correct.
If he was going to have an inconsequential idol, like how much Xander do I need?
Has Xander been relevant, at least from a twist perspective? Yes.
No.
Heather?
No.
He said the butterfly thing, didn't have a vote. He had to have confessionals at every time. I don't have a vote.
I'm talking about post-merge.
What's gonna happen? Like, I don't.
I'm talking about post-merge.
He's gonna try to schmooze on in the Yasas and win the challenges because I don't have a vote. Heather didn't win any. Didn't lose any pre-merge.
Yasa only lost 2 challenges pre-merge.
Correct. But Xander
only
was
2.
And I think I'm a Xander fan.
That's it.
But
we found it.
But Kevin, come on. There is 0% chance that he's gonna win the game. I think that his perception of the jury and what his view of the room was so not correct that there was
that's the
no
thing, though.
chance from a social perspective that he'd win. But
agreed.
So in that's you can't, dude. He had
the internet though.
Lifetime.
Twitter's mad. Twitter's mad. I don't know if y'all know this. Derek Levasseur is mad because the edit told me that Xander Baby was going to win this game,
correct.
And then he gets 0 votes, and they're like, "This show is wrong." When in reality, they gave you too much Xander for him to not get any votes.
People love Xander. Like,
because they made you love Xander.
At the end of the day, man. At the end
People
of the
love
day,
Xander
this is
because
about
Xander.
ratings. At the end of the day, this is about ratings. And if you got the golden boy with the curly locks and the 6-pack, finding an irrelevant idol, dancing to the end.
I'm much more
make Middle America watch over a 52-year-old woman who probably has funny confessionals, hasn't really done much either. And
but you don't know that. I would much rather watch Kylie and Denny go out there as moms,
correct,
playing the game, playing the game well, than I would to watch this golden boy who is not even winning all the challenges because we have the flight attendant crushing it in the challenges. He's not even winning all the challenges, right? All he's doing is fake giving up shit. I don't care about that. Give me the moms, man.
I would love that.
They would be definitely giving me some airtime.
I love that.
But they might not, Denny.
I'm not disagreeing
would.
with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I wanted more Heather. I wanted to learn about her, just like I wanted more Erica. I'm Team Erica. I wanted to get to know more about Erica.
I wanted more of everyone, and this is why I said I was over the Shan show a while back because we were just getting so much of her.
Shan. Why don't you take some screen time away from Shan and put it on?
They should have.
Look at this. Dawn is a Midwesterner, and she also would have preferred way more of the other people being shown.
Dawn, I get it. I would like to see diversity. I'm all about diversity. Put a more diverse cast. I'm more than happy to have a more than diverse cast. Trust me. But you know what Middle America wants. And Middle America Survivor needs viewers. There's a difference between the fandom, Twitter's favorite, and Reddit, and the fandom's favorite. And
there was this push for diversity, and we do get a diverse cast racially. We do get a diverse cast sexually. We get a diverse cast even age-wise. And we did have 2 older women. And we got a little bit from Tiffany. She gets voted out, pretty early. And so, I think that America wants to see themselves, like Stan, you said, I want to see somebody that's like me. Kevin, you want to see somebody that's like you. Well, I mean, no, I'm not quite, the 50-year-old woman yet. Getting there. But you know what I mean? Like, I want to see that.
But you're one day. You're a mom. Yeah, you're a
get it.
mom.
And
The mom's out
I
there
would
and be a
love.
badass. And I mean, like in Heather's preseason press, I'm like, she's really likable. And like, no, I don't think she's going to win, but you know what I mean? Like, I thought we were going to get a little bit more from her. And so
Absolutely. CBS
they
screwed it up.
screwed it up. They screwed it up
CBS
with
screwed
Heather.
it up.
They screwed it up with Erica. So
CBS screwed
yes,
it up.
yes, they made steps in casting diversely. It's been a long season, y'all, casting diversely, but they still don't know how to edit away from the Golden Boys.
You know what?
So-
You know what though, Kylie? You know what, Kylie? I'm gonna. I love the mic drop, but you know what? As someone who is from the same literal background as Erica, we'll take it. Underrated win. We'll take the underdog. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take
All
it.
right.
Like, who cares? Like, why am I complaining? Right?
Because we're not complaining about Erica, we're complaining about Heather.
No one's complaining. Who's complaining? People are complaining Xander did win but they've eaten for seasons for a white man that's went Survivor. And honestly, truly, I firmly believe that whoever gets most of the votes at the end deserves to win that season, no matter what.
What are you talking about?
You would have had to convince
We're
the
talking
jury.
about-
What are you talking about right now, Stan? We're talking about the fire and Heather not getting an edit, Stan. Where you at?
I just kind of had to preempt that. It got away. I was so.
Dan's just
you guys
feeling
were like,
it.
I know, I can feel it.
I'm like, we'll
So
take it.
justice
We'll take
for
it.
Heather. CBS just has to learn how to do better. And I know it's hard to, sometimes show a social game. And
You need a second episode every week.
yeah,
That
Maybe.
fixes it.
show more.
Nah.
Show more.
Australian
behind the scenes.
Survivor.
Yes.
Whatever you need to do. But Stan, I do think that you're partially right in that I think Heather's edit suffered because Erica's had to benefit. But where they really screwed up is we didn't need as much Xander. We didn't need as much Shan. We didn't need as much Ricard. I
Agreed.
love Shan. I love Ricard.
Hold on. Shan and Ricardo are
Sorry.
stars. They're icons in this game. I think we need as much as those two because those two really did
Ratings.
work. Not ratings, work. The two of them really shaped the game. And then I know I'm gonna pull a stand and jump ahead a little bit. And they also really shaped how the jury did things. So having their voices singing and knowing what they're saying is important. None of us needed as much Xander as we got because Xander ended up being inconsequential to the end game, to the ending, the ultimate ending.
Yeah.
Like Xander could have also gotten like a purple edit and just got like B-roll of him and his abs, and everyone would just be perfect.
It'd been the same. Yeah, and we could have got more Heather.
All right.
It is true. It's true.
Let's
It's
move
true.
on to final tribal council.
Wait, one thing I want to say, bro. One of my favorite moments was when Deshaun's fire lit. Whenever I get so excited, I cannot contain the excitement in one place and I have to take off. I don't know which way I'm going, but when he's like, let's go, and he's like running around the set, that is me. I play adult kickball. I played adult kickball, and maybe 4 years ago, this dude threw the ball in, relayed to me. Oh, not to me, to one of my guys. And then this guy had kicked a home run. My guy clipped the dude on his heel as he was about to step on home plate. I was the pitcher. I ran into the outfield. I was just so excited for getting that third out because that dude had kicked a home run, and we got him right before he scored at home. And I just took off. I was just so excited. So watching Deshaun run around saying, let's go, when this thing that he did not think was going to happen
He
happened.
didn't think
Just
he,
so
had
excited.
he thought he had no chance. He
No
really
chance.
genuinely
He
thought he had no
freaking
chance.
pulled it out of nowhere. So
I'm so excited Kevin plays kickball because I just found this out. So.
We'll talk about this later. We'll talk about that later.
all right. So
I'm so excited.
final tribal council. Let's talk about each of their performances. Let's start with Xander. Is there anything else to add about him? I feel like we've kind of pounded it into the ground of what Xander did wrong, and that's his perception.
It was a rough tribal council for literally everyone, including Erica. Erica just happened to be the recipient of better praise than the other two, because the other two were just, it was just rough for them going in.
I thought Erica had a great final
I
tribal.
agree.
So listen though, it's because it's in comparison. We've seen better tribal councils. We've seen better final tribal councils from the winner. There was nothing real negative to say about Erica's game, because they all talked about how under the radar and how quiet she was and how she like made the moves behind other people, but they never were able to really mention any big move she did herself. But they hammered on Xander's social ineptitude, and they hammered on Deshawn's, what Shan called his pouting and his temper tantrums. So those things really, as I'm watching the final tribal council, I was like, ooh, there's no better winner here. They want Ricard there. Like, they would rather have Ricard there so they could talk about the things that he did do in the game. Whereas when they talked about Heather, when they talked about Erica, they talked about how behind the scenes she worked and how great that was, but they couldn't point to anything specifically.
I think you're absolutely right, but I think Danny said, and we all knew Danny was gonna vote for Deshawn. He's like, Erica, like, kudos to you. Like, you played the game that all of us wanted to play.
Yeah.
I think she was the only one that was really successful, and I think people respected that. And
Yes,
you don't need to make a big move.
I think her delivery
it
was
depends
solid.
who she's sitting next to. I mean,
Correct.
she lucked out sitting next to those two, but
Yeah.
had she been sitting next to Ricard, she has no shot playing that
Correct.
good of a game. So
Correct.
Well, she might been a little more like aggressive at a final tribal with Ricard. I think she was smart enough to read the jury and see that it was a really good environment for her. So she just was very like chill, calm, collected, and I think she answered everything really well. I think her performance was well. I don't think it was an inspiring final tribal like we have seen in the past, but I think it was
a softball. It was a softball. You know what I'm saying? It was a softball, and she crushed it. Don't get me wrong. She hit it over the fence, but she was hitting a softball, a giant softball.
Like, look, this was the guy up against me in kickball, and
no. Legitimately, Erica. I want to make sure I say this. Erica did very well in the tribal council, but because they were hammering Deshawn and Xander so much, all she had to do was show up to the test. Like, that's all she had to do. She had to show up and put her name on the paper. That's all she had to do.
Exactly.
The rest of them were starting from behind.
So, anything else to say about Xander? I would say that, I enjoyed Xander. Maybe more life experience behind him. Do I think Xander is a returner? No. So I think
I don't know. I think they might bring him.
Xander will be back.
Xander's coming back.
Xander won't be back.
Xander will be back.
Xander
I don't want
He's the Rick Ozzy of this generation.
We'll save this footage. Xander won't be back. Okay.
I think he will be back.
All right,
raise your hand if you think Xander will be back.
America, the outrage.
He's on Jeff's list. He's on Jeff's list. That's what matters. He's on Jeff's favorite list.
All right. So moving on to Deshawn.
Man, I'm the biggest Deshawn fan.
I'm
the biggest Deshawn fan on this cast, right, on this panel right here, and it was rough, man. Shan, like, Stan says Shan is vindictive, and I wouldn't say vindictive. I would say that Shan saw things in Deshawn that she did not like. She felt like that he was emotionally manipulative to a degree because of his, as she characterized them, tantrums, and his pouting made them have to change how he was spoken to, and that basically defeated him. Like she says that, and then he kind of just sits there the rest of final tribal council, because he realizes that this is not going well at all. And then the moves that he made to get there in the end, that's where his game got sloppy, right? He gets rid of Shan, picks up her sloppy stick, and then like bombs the rest of the game. The truth bomb that got brought up multiple times, unnecessary. And it was brought up constantly throughout the last 2 hours of the show. How he decided to blow up Erica's game. It was not appreciated by Heather, who mentioned it earlier in the episode, that she didn't appreciate the fact that he basically tried to make Erica look like a clown. That's how they felt. That's not necessarily what he was trying to do, but that's how they felt about it. And as we've talked about before, perception is reality. And that's kind of how that looked. It looked messy in front of the jury. It looked messy in front of Heather and the people remaining in the game. Once that really happened, he didn't really have a shot in hell. And that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think I completely agree with you, Kevin. I like Deshaun. I think I see a lot of myself in like Deshaun, and and I play orgs. Like I want to make moves. Your back is against the wall. Like no one's perfect, and sometimes you. The thing is, I've been to the end where I completely misread the jury and just like I just dropped the ball on that one. Like I pissed way too many people off, and I respectfully get third with 0 or 1 vote to win. But like there's a time where you need to realize what's important to the jury. In this case, Shan is walking out pissed if you do that, and there's going to be people that are not going to like your poutiness. Why don't you just let them vote out whoever the hell they want to vote out? Just shut your mouth, Deshaun, because you're a good player. You've made really good moves in this game, but it just got so overshadowed by how it made the jurors feel. And I think I said this like maybe 5 weeks ago. I'm like, this Deshaun and Shan fight, when that was fresh, I'm like, someone's going to have to stab the other. And that whoever gets stabbed is not going to like it. Now, fast forward 5 weeks. Remember Kylie and Frank? I mentioned that in one of our podcasts. And then now it turns out Deshaun was the one who blindsided Shan. Shan goes to the jury pissed. So and then they kind of have a very, rough relationship with a couple of tussles in there, even though that were kind of going with the lines for the movement.
For me, it seemed like he kind of lost a little bit of the fire when Shan was asking him if he was using the movement to his own advantage for other reasons. And when that happened, I just felt like a lot of the life left him from that final tribal, and he was more worried about the perception of him beyond the game.
Yeah, and I definitely don't. I don't think that that is not the perception I get at all. Like those two were the Tiffany and Big D of Survivor, and they,
I actually didn't like that she did that because
her game. Deshaun was not, and Deshaun thought, "Hey, my best move is to get this girl out," and that's why he did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nothing of using the movement.
So Frank,
I felt she knew that already, though, and I think asking the question. But by asking the question, then if he fights really hard after that, I don't know. I just feel like it was set him up really awfully.
She said multiple times in her exit press that the day that she got voted out, she asked Deshaun what was going on, and he said that he was committed to the culture. He was committed to keeping her, and he invoked the culture, and that's why she felt the ways she had about him that at that time, because he had said he was committed to the movement, and then she goes home and basically a blindside, right, for herself, which is why she constantly after that did not really have respect for him, because she felt like he was using something so much bigger, obviously, as a way to get himself further. And I understand where she's coming from in games myself. I as a black man, when I play in org games, I usually am one of few, right? And so whenever there's more black people, I like to I do my best to make sure I can look out for them like they look out for me. That's just a thing. I played a game about a year ago, and there was a guy that was playing too that was mixed race, and I said to him, "Hey man, I don't really feel comfortable voting out another black dude he was having conflict with," and he's like, "Well, if that's the case, make sure you don't vote me out either." And it was like, that left definitely a bad taste in my mouth because that's not the point of what I'm saying here. It was it was telling him how I felt about a thing, and he was going to try to weaponize the culture against me, which is not okay. And I felt that's how Shan felt, which is why she had to ask Deshaun about it because she felt duped by him in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And so this is the first time she gets to speak to him in that final tribal council. So that's what she's gonna ask.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with you. There's no other way. I think that's the first time when you gotta address it.
Yeah.
But going back earlier with Deshaun and Shan, I mean, I agreed with him because she was not listening. It was her way or no way at all. And it's like, I get if you want to be in control, but like I've said before, you can't just, you have to listen to other people and maybe let them think that your moves are theirs. You know what I mean? And she just was not listening to him. They had the talk about it and she's like, I understand. And then she goes on again with what's going to happen. And it's her way. And he was getting frustrated. So in that situation, would I want to continue working with her when it's her way or no way? And I feel like my voice isn't being heard.
Yeah, I mean, they really, really were the same dynamic as Tiffany and Big D. And in Big Brother, Tiffany was like, the movement and the culture matters more to me than my individual game. And Deshaun did not feel the same way. He saw Shan as his big D. Like, me and this girl, we are not on the same page. We are not going to be able to work cohesively together. And he decided to make a move. And so I can understand Shan's viewpoint and I can understand Deshaun's viewpoint. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
anything
And
else
it's funny
to
though.
add about
Yeah,
Deshaun's game?
finishing up on that comment, that's kind of what ended up tanking him and shutting him down because once you question his blackness, but like his dedication to his blackness, if you will, it made him rethink everything that had happened to that point. And if that is your perception, you being Shan, if that's your perception of me and that's not how I was thinking I was coming off, I am betraying who I think I am as a person in general. And then that's kind of was the end of his
Yeah.
his final council.
It shrunk him down. And that was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who ended up casting that sole vote for him? I don't even know.
Danny.
Danny?
Deshaun sure didn't look happy when Ricardo started calling him out during that either. He's like, you did all this, and then he's like, Deshaun's like, some of that's a lie.
Yeah, you were like, he called him out on like what Heather perception. He got Heather under his wing. Like,
he really got railroaded.
I think
He got hit
Deshaun's
hard.
mistake was, and you know, and I've been very guilty as charged in LRGs. I don't play a lot, but I've been very guilty as charged as having way too many hands and way too many cookie jars. And at some point, you're gonna have to send home the people which your cookie jars are with, like Shan, the people that because he can only go to forward with so many people. But then you're so invested in their game that when you send them home, they feel like some type of way negatively that like they don't like how they get blindsided. They don't like how they get sent home. Blah blah blah. They thought you were the final two, and but you had to say that, and they just get mad. That reflects on how. You have to remember when you play these games, you have to realize that the jury's vote is theirs, right? It's not based on anything but their own perception or feeling or, you know, luck, whatever they find funny. Like you get coin flip, heads, you get the vote, tails. It's their vote. Whatever criteria it is up to the juror. So I think there's no such thing as a bitter juror survivor. It's how you work the jury. And I think Deshaun thought that he was, you know, being himself and trying to be a good person, a good player, and he is. But I think his disconnect is his the way he was over connected. He was best friends with everybody, but he sent them all home, not in a way that looked strategic, but looked pouty and tantrumy and whatever. And that doesn't sit well. And I bet you when Heather came to Ponderosa that night, as the fourth placer, you know they're gonna talk over food and alcohol. And A, Heather's on Erica's side, and B, they're gonna tell everything that they're gonna exchange stories about everyone. And I'm like, oh, I had a deal with Deshaun. Oh, Heather, by the way, Deshaun said that he got you under his wing and da 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 da. Oh, Heather's like, I never said that, blah 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 blah. And then that's what happens, and down goes the railroad, like the train, like it's gonna fall off its tracks real quick. When enough people have gotten voted out. And I think that's what happened to Deshaun. Unfortunately, and his boy was like, "I'll give him second." Writes his name.
All right, let's talk about Erica's winning game because, we were probably not going to go much longer than maybe 15 more minutes or so. And we have not highlighted Erica enough, just like CBS. So
exactly, I was gonna say we haven't talked about Erica. Just
Frank,
like CBS.
what is the best thing Erica did this season? Why is she still Survivor?
She knew the game that she was capable of, and she played it, and she ended up in a final three that was beneficial to her. I think she inside the whole season maybe was like fighting this turmoil, like I want to play bigger, I want to play bolder, but she was smart enough to know not to do that until later on in the game.
Yeah,
I didn't personally get that. I didn't feel like she wanted to play any bigger than she played. I feel like she played as big as she wanted to play. I felt like that was never an issue in the style that she played, which was really played to a benefit for her because she was able to not have to step too far outside of what she knows how to do because she did it very well. She's talks about how she'll be in a boardroom and she is they don't assume that she's going to be running the thing. Like she knows how to lay in the cut and be
I think
in the
she
cut.
wishes she could have played more in the beginning of the season, though, to give the viewers more, because I think she, being a viewer and a big fan her whole life, I think makes her want to do the same thing and be showy when she's on there. So I think the fact that they won all those and she couldn't play, I think that's more what I'm meaning. I think she was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as someone I'm 5'2", and so it is sometimes. I mean, I've got obviously a big upfront personality, but if I'm in a group of people, obviously size wise, I'm not this big dominating presence, and so
right.
I do have to.
I'm little, and I'm kind of a dominating presence.
I know that. You and I kind of have similar personalities in that we're very upfront and we're going to put ourselves forward. And I don't think Erica necessarily and she mentions it. Her whole physical demeanor is small. She has a very soft voice, and so I don't think if she would have gone out there and played Shan's game that she would have had the same result.
Right.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked for her. So I think she did well knowing her strengths. And I think ultimately that move where they gained the majority alliance and then they were able to hang on to it the rest of the game, that was, I think a lot of Erica's strategic voting to get herself into that position. And not only was she in the majority alliance, but she was also the swing vote in many of the votes. And so it was very subtle, but very well played.
She also picked a really good duo to have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I want to say that, huh?
Denny was laughing, and I think she's laughing at Bob's comment, and it's not funny.
No, I'm not laughing.
Erica and I don't have a lot in common size-wise. I'm 6'2", big guy, big personality. A little bit I'm more of I would see myself more being the life of the party than being the lamb. But what we have in common is actually culturally, we the Filipinos are Asian people that often get mislooked and overlooked all the time, and we're just so used to that as a people. How many times I've been mistaken, which is completely fine. Like we're in the healthcare industry. A lot of Filipinos are nurses. We're not like a lot of hospitality is Filipino. A lot of that, like in the hospital, there's a lot of Filipino nurses because we do that. And how many times I've been mistaken just because like I'm the color of my skin as a nurse. I'm like, oh, it's perfect. Let me be the nurse. Let me make no decisions. And like I have a lot of colleagues that, I play it off funny, like until I have like my name tag that says, what I actually do. I don't mind. Some moms are like, oh, can you clean up the poop of my baby? And I'm like, oh, I actually don't know where the diapers are. But I don't mind. Like they mistake me as a nurse that has I can do it. I've done it in a newborn nursery. It's not a thing. I'll clean poop any day, all day. But it's so funny because that's a perception. And Erica did that to her advantage. Like there was, the camp out, which is big, bold alliance that's been coming out for the movement, for not the movement, according to Deshaun and Shan, whatever. But we can slide under the radar and no one even knows we're there. Like because of how we are, we just put our head down and we work and we're kind people, we're hospitable people, but she used that to her advantage as well. Plus being like what Kylie said, not the most physically athletic person. She doesn't look to be I think she used that to her advantage completely in the game. Mind you, she was lucky. I think you can't be just great at Survivor. You have to have some luck as well. I think she was fortunate that the hourglass twist was there, because if she was vulnerable coming back from exile, she might have gone home that night. Had Luvu lost one or two challenges instead of Voce getting voted out, shout out to my boy Voce, or Genie. Genie was the last Uwa, like getting voted out. Luvu went to a couple. Guess what? If Sydney was really in with Danny and Deshaun, may have been Heather and Erica, boom, boom, because they wanted to keep Nasir, right? So
Yeah.
I think you can say it's luck with the hourglass and maybe finding that last advantage, but not with winning challenges.
No,
I don't think that's luck. I
she
think that's just.
Do you think that there were any challenges that Erica really pushed? She's a solid challenge player. It's not that she's a liability. Like
She was on the puzzles. She was on a lot of the puzzles.
She's good at, her and Evie were the ones, although I think it was more credited to Evie, the triangle with balls thing. I think she played a very, as what Frank said, and everyone kind of in this panel, she played the game that she knew she was gonna play, and that she was, so easy for her. This is what I do every day. People misconstrue me as the lamb, but I'm actually running the meeting. Let me just do it again on Survivor. And it really worked. And that's why in a game where really 41, people are going to complain about the twists. But in a game that there's a lot of twists, a lot of idols, a lot of stupid shit that's going on, whether you like it or not, if you're in that game, all you got to do is duck for cover. Don't let it be me. Not today. Tomorrow, but not today. Let someone else go home for this crazy whatever twist. And then that's exactly what she did. And then she insulated with enough people, and she's like, hey, Xander, Ricardo, Heather, and me, let's just form an alliance and take it to the end, but we take a card out at 5,
Yeah.
I think
So
that's
Kevin,
exactly
what was your favorite thing Erica did in her winning game?
So the thing that Erica did that I liked the most was that she was very frank. And so like when she comes back and she says, congrats, friend, for still being here after you were basically a dick to me last night to Deshaun, I appreciated her upfrontness about the things. I also appreciated that she understood that her relationship with Heather was strained, and she knew the importance of talking to her. Even though Heather didn't want to talk, it was very important for her to at least have an idea of where Heather was with at least the thing. And that's how she finds out Heather's actually madder at Deshaun than anybody else. And you're like, okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. And like another thing that I liked the most that she did, Sheldon mentioned it right here, was that Erica was very calm and reserved in her tribal council because she didn't have to be anything special, because she's watching Xander and Deshaun get bombed on. All she had to do was just agree with a couple things. In fact, they talked about her game, and she's like, "I'm glad you noticed that. Let me tell you about why I did it like that," and then went from there. Like it was. I like how composed she was at all times.
Yeah.
She's a student of the game. She's a student of the game, like all of us, But we do all of our games in a different passion. Kylie's path to winning certainly ain't the Erica route. Let's just be honest. But it's an effective game. But I think what you need to understand is how you are,
Yeah.
right? What your capabilities are, how you are perceived, and make that happen. And it has to be correct from your perspective, but more importantly from the jury's perspective. And Erica, all she had to do literally was open her mouth and like, "Hi, my name is Erica."
And that was it.
She's really good at reading people, so I
Correct.
think
She already made those social connections.
yeah, super good at reading people. Like you mentioned, her pulling Heather for that reward was huge. I think just to mend fences and
Yeah.
kind of guarantee Heather's vote in the end.
Yeah.
I hate
Heather was so surprised. Heather was so surprised on her face. Heather was like, "Me? You're taking me?" And she's like, "Of course." And like, you're right, it helps secure that vote.
Yeah. I do have to say, I loved during Final Tribal when Erica was talking about how, people weren't really looking at her except for Shan, that Shan kind of noticed that Erica was a huge threat in the game. And I was like, you know what? It took me back to that moment when Shan was trying to get Erica out. And I was like, I should have known in that moment that Erica was going to win this thing because Shan called it.
Yeah.
Deshaun noticed it too, though. Deshaun was like, "We got to get this girl out of here, man."
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, people definitely recognized it. They just, they didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's why if she did play a flashier game and she was making big moves, like you, Frank, you said you thought she wished she would have played a bigger game, especially in the beginning. If she would have, because people were looking at her as a smart, strategic player, she definitely would have. Yeah, she definitely would have been cut early.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So very quickly, we're each going to go through and kind of say where we rank Erica as a winner and where we kind of rank the season. So for me personally, I'm going to say, just based off of edit and everything, that I'm going to put them kind of both as a winner and as a season kind of mid-tier, like, somewhere around like the 20-ish range for me. Frank, what about you?
Yeah, I would put our winner at middle of the pack. I wasn't in love. Season, there were a lot of things I think I enjoyed. I enjoyed the short season, no food, struggle more. I enjoyed that. Challenges, I can't really complain. I think they were a little too heavy on the twists. I never want to see again where you win something and then it's taken away. I think it was a good season. I was happy from the beginning just to have Survivor back. I think what the season did give us is some amazing players. The cast was very dynamic. You had characters, love them or hate them, people like Brad who were just crazy and out there. You had a dynamic duo like Shan and Ricardo. I was happy with all of it in whole.
Yeah.
So.
Denny, where'd you rank it?
Definitely middle to not bottom, but listen, I love some of the people on the cast. I'm a huge Danny fan. I love Ricardo. I love people that went out early. I would have loved to see more crazy antics from Brad and see what Voce could have done. I do think it was an overall great cast. But the twists, definitely, I get it. Twists are a part of the game. But I do feel like it just pulls it down for me. I don't feel like we would have Erica as the winner. And because I didn't see enough of an edit from her, I can't place her any higher on the list.
Yeah. It's understandable.
Yeah.
So for me, the season ranks from between 15 and 20, somewhere in there. between a 15 and 20. It's I like a lot of the twists, like Frank said, and I like the cast as a whole was
Yeah.
really really strong. Her as a winner, I would put her in probably between just off the cuff 20 to 30.
Yeah.
20 to 30.
Yeah,
I think Erica had a strong game for what she did when she was able to explain it when she got to the end. But like we all mentioned, CBS didn't show it on the edit, so I didn't really see most of the stuff she was doing. But even in our leading up to this, when we did the podcast leading up to this, we talked about her having a legitimate chance to win. So it's not like she was invisible, and it's not like she had a game that we're like, how did she win? It's not like that. We saw the things she was doing. It wasn't like a Natalie White situation where you're like, what? It was just like, okay, she wasn't the biggest character, but I could definitely see how we got here.
Yeah. All right, Stan, where do you rank?
I think I kind of agree with you guys. Given that I'm all for the win. I think first Filipino, first Canadian that won. I think we're all for that. But I think what was lacking was her edit. We didn't really see Erica as that big player in this game, although she played a very good game. I think CBS is trying to reinvent the wheel by not showing us the classic Tommy Sheehan, Island of the Idols type win.
Did you just say classic Tommy Sheehan when he was 2 seasons ago?
No, I mean, like, that's the archetype, right? How Aris won, Panama. How, that's the easy. Oh, you pick it from Tony, like how Tony won. Like everyone knows, like who won. Like I think CBS got everyone talking, and whether or not you agree with it, it's her game anyway. She intentionally wanted to be a lamb. So make her a lamb, make her look like a lamb, and show people how you can actually be a lion at the end. And actually, she's the only one who stuck to her gameplay, her intended gameplay. I think I would put her I think 15.
Okay.
I think she overcame a lot of odds in a crazy season. I think 15. Yeah, I would say so.
She can control time.
And then
Time
I think
was
for this season, but Frank, you play with the hand that you're dealt. Are you not going to play with the twists that you're dealt?
Yeah.
Of
The
course
time
you're
was.
gonna
This season,
play
I
it.
think 41 though.
15's
I
a
would
bit
put
high, though.
41 just under the top 10.
No, I'm saying that's why she deserves 15 because she has a superpower.
She won.
Wait, you have it at the top 15 season though?
I think season I would be in between 10 and 15 because I would put it. So here's the thing: 41 would have never have happened if COVID didn't happen. A. B. The shortened season was because it made sense to truncate it and shoot 2 back-to-back, really from a logistic sense. And number 3, they did all those crazy twists and hunger and whatever to compensate for quote-unquote shortened season, right? So really, it was a sign of the times. We didn't have Survivor for 2 years or whatever. Everyone was kind of going crazy. They throw a really crazy season with a lot of amazing characters, people that are easily going to come back for any returnee season. I think there was amazing gameplay. There were a lot of characters. The cherry on the top was this winner, but she was edited literally as a cherry on top of the cake we just ate.
And this season gave us Ricard, so we can't
it
complain.
gave us Ricard.
We can't complain.
Kylie, wrap this up. Kylie, wrap this up.
Survivor, according to Ricardo and Frank. It gave us icons that we'll remember forever.
All right, Stan, that's enough Ricard worship. Kylie, wrap this up, please.
All right, so we had so much fun this season. We hope y'all enjoyed our coverage. Frank, anything to plug?
Tomorrow night we have the challenge final recap. DeLucas is back, Kylie's back, Frank is back, and we're joined by Marlon Williams, finalist from Rivals 2. So tune into that. Before Kevin plugs, if you guys want some harem pants, go. I know it's Christmas season. Use promo code for the fans. Jump on harempants.com and get the latest fashion and comfort. And then Kevin, you got anything?
Yeah, man, check out the either one of my podcasts, the Top 5 Go podcast, or the DCOM After Dark podcast, where we talk about Disney Channel original movies. Those are always great. Also, though, I don't know if we haven't talked about it, but I will be doing some celebrity Big Brother coverage right here on For the Fans. I will be doing that. We're going to have some guests here. We're going to have some other podcast people doing stuff. It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about the show. We're just going to be going through the show. The celebrities, we're going to be talking about them. The paparazzi, that's going to be us. We're going to be talking about them. So definitely join us. We'll be live. And we're also going to figure out like a way to do podcasts, like an actual podcast on a feed. So we're going to figure that thing out. So you can listen to us in your car or at work.
Or at the gym.
Whatever. Or at the gym while you pumping that iron, baby.
Yeah.
You can listen to us just in your ear holes.
Yeah, and if you want to, just reach out to me privately, and I'll do a separate track where I pump you on for your workout if you want.
that costs. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything to plug?
Me? Oh, thanks guys for having me. It was certainly a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch Live to Give. It's a Live to Give on YouTube. It's a live reality game for charity. I'm in it. And if I don't see you guys, I'm in Survivor New York, which is going to be airing, I think, early 2022. That's going to be fun too. And it's another live reality game that I played over this. I did back to back. When COVID finished, I was like, I'm playing too. So certainly watch out for that. It was hella fun. And root for me there and eat fans.
Awesome. Denny, anything to plug?
I got nothing to plug. I'm just going to be baking cookies over here
Just
and
bombing
doing
it up,
last minute
bitches.
shopping. But happy holidays to all of you guys.
Yeah.
Follow Denny at Denny No Prava.
No problem.
Denny, no problem.
No problem.
Thank you guys for joining us all season long. Shout out to our number one fan, Dragon Monkey and Dawn, and Robert is the honorable mention. All right, so make sure you give us a thumbs up, drop us some comments, let us know your thoughts on this season overall and about our episode, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.